'Twas the night before Christmas, and all through the town not a creature was stirring but a giant rat crowned. The fighter's longsword was hung with care in hopes that someday he'd cast fireball with flare. His wizard friends all snug in their bed while visions of lightning lure danced in his head. With the gnome sorcerer in her kerchief and the dragonborn paladin in his cap had all settled down for a long winter's nap. When outside the window arose such a clatter, the fighter sprang from his sheets to see what's the matter. That giant rat had attacked a frightened young child. The fighter said, "Screw it!" and jumped from the mantle. Without weapon or worry, he ran to the aid, and upon instinct cast Thunder Wave. Hello, heroes of Dungeons & Dragons, and welcome to Weaver's Wonderful World. Today, we're talking about the subclasses for the Fantastic and Furious Fighter. One of the best things about fighters is they are very adept at battle. This goes doubly for the subclasses, or martial archetypes, and while each class has many subclasses, the fighters vary far and wide. Once the fighter hits the wondrous level of 3, they get to choose from a multitude of different martial archetypes. There are two subclasses for the fighter that delve into the world of magic. The first of those two, and the first on their chopping block, is... Who wouldn't like the ability to shoot magic with arrows? Weaving magic into one's arrows as they fire at enemies to do more than just regular damage, which they can choose from a laundry list of arcane shots that can banish foes for a turn, cause the target to be charmed by an ally, blow up in the target's face and damage others around them, deal necrotic damage and halve the target's attack, stick brambles to the target that cause damage over time and reduce their movement, and shoot an arrow through everything 30 feet in one direction. This was an Elvish elite class only, but as time went on, they shared their secrets with other races around the world. Now anyone can be an arcane archer. But here's what I found a little awesome about this class. When picking up arcane archer, the player gets to choose from two different cantrips. Druidcraft for the more naturey folk out there, or prestidigitation for the fancy, more arcana of magic choices. Either way, each cantrip is effective in their own right depending on how you choose to use them. So, if you want to be an archer and weave magic into your arrows, Arcane Archer is the choice for you. Battlemasters are pretty awesome. They basically command the battlefield with superiority dice. With these dice, they can increase the damage when they hit an enemy, increase a party member's damage on their next turn, and so much more. Be sure to study up, because Battlemasters are more than just a commander on the battlefield. They are artisans of history, learned scholars, and artists of their own right, and wielding a forge hammer or quill. Maneuvers cost superiority dice, as mentioned before, giving the Battlemaster an array of ways to affect the battlefield, including disarming enemies or giving advantage to attacks on enemies close to their allies. There are many maneuvers to choose from, so choose wisely, as Battlemasters are able to learn up to 9 by the time they hit 15th level. One of the best attributes of the Battlemaster is know your enemy. Outside of combat, if they take the time, the Battlemaster can learn if their target is stronger or weaker than them in 2 abilities. This makes them invaluable if they take the time to do recon on their opponent. So look over the Battlemaster and see if this fighting subclass matches your playstyle. At the time of recording this video, Brute is currently in playtest, so it may disappear from the list, or if it works out, it may become permanent. But Brutes are just barbarians without rage. They use physical prowess to beat their enemies until they cannot beat back. Some are more tactful, but what's the fun in that when you can turn your enemy into a pile of... Wait, what? Again? I made it through 2 subclasses without incident! Anyways, Brute Force at 3rd level allows the fighter to deal an extra 1d4 damage with a weapon they are proficient in. This increases as they level, so be sure to watch the chart. Brutish durability seems like it would be a barbarian skill, seeing as it allows you to add 1d6 to all of your saving throws, including death saving throws. But with death saving throws, if it goes up to 20, it acts as a nat 20 and gives the Brute 2 saves. Once strong enough, the Brute can add another fighting style to their repertoire. Then there's Devastating Critical. With this, if the Brute rolls a crit, they can add damage on top of that equal to the fighter's level. So, if you want the best bang for your buck and okay, I'll give you that one. It was gonna be pretty bad. Anyways, go with the 2-handed Brute and you can be a baby barbarian. Do you like mounts? Do you like horses or something cooler? Do you like long, pointy head? Are you I swear if I ever find out who you are, I'm going to bring down the Anyways, if you like polearms or just mounted sword fighting, step up to the Cavalier. They are protectors of the weak or their superiors depending on their job. They are masters of the mount and the repartee of the state dinner. Normally of noble or high birth, cavaliers are just as comfortable talking as they are riding. Born to the saddle, it is hard to knock a cavalier off of their steed. But if one manages to knock them off of their mount, they automatically land on their feet if they're 10 feet or less from the ground. As well, mounting and dismounting cost 5 feet of movement, which makes them pretty quick on their feet. The Cavalier can cause enemies within reach to have disadvantage on all throws until the end of their next turn after attacking them. They can also defend themselves, their mount, or any other creature within reach against an attack. This happens by adding 1d8 to the target's AC. Defender of the weak for sure, even when the weak is themselves. Hold the line provokes an attack of opportunity if a being within reach moves 5 or more feet. The successful attack stops them dead in their tracks, if it doesn't kill them first. So, at 10th level, the Cavalier gets just a bit more scary in combat for the enemy, if they're smart. At 15th level, the Cavalier can ferociously charge an opponent, knocking them prone if they fail a strength throw. Luckily for them, the Cavalier can only do this once per turn, but it can be devastating if the Cavalier does it right. At 18th level, the Cavalier becomes the Vigilant Defender. During each creature's turn, except the Cavalier, as long as they have not taken a reaction that turn, they can use this special reaction to only make opportunity attacks, giving the Cavalier yet another reason to be feared on the battlefield. I personally don't like mounted combat, but I wouldn't be opposed to it if I could be a Cavalier. Fighter is the name, fighting is the game. Put a champion on the field and devastation will be proclaimed. The champion is the fightiest of all the fighter subclasses. They focus on raw physical power, honing it to the deadliest perfection they possibly can. When the fighter hits 3rd level, they gain improved critical. This allows any weapon the champion is wielding to cause a critical strike at 19 or 20. At 7th level, the champion becomes a remarkable athlete. This allows them to add half of their proficiency bonus to strength, dexterity, and constitution checks that don't already use proficiency. As well, with a running jump, adds distance to the length of a jump that is equal to the champion's strength modifier. At 10th level, the champion can add another fighting style to their repertoire. I mean, it wasn't like they weren't already dangerous enough to begin with, but adding a second really just You know, the champion is the easiest subclass to make fun of, because of how easy it is to play. Literally everything they get makes them a more efficient fighter. Take superior critical for instance. At 15th level, instead of doing 19 and 20, they get criticals at 18 through 20. That's a major buff, and a lot of people criticize it for that fact. But really, if you like being a champion, by all means don't hesitate to play it. Everyone who has an issue with it can just go screw. Alright, I get it. At 18th level, the champion becomes a more efficient survivor, gaining back hit points on each turn if they are below half their max. So don't listen to the naysayers. If you like the champion, jump in full force and own the battlefield. Now on to the second magic warrior of the fighter subclasses. The Eldritch Knight is a powerful warrior wielding magic in combat. Their magical abilities are limited, however. At 3rd level, the fighter gains spellcasting. They can choose any 2 cantrips from the wizard's spell list, giving them a leg up when it comes to other fighters. While they are not wizards and do not get the same spell slots, the Eldritch Knight is able to augment their own fighting prowess with limited spells. 3rd level grants them access to 3 known spells, but only 2 1st level slots. 4th through 6th level is 3 1st level slots, and so on. So be sure to check the slots and know what the Eldritch Knight is capable of. As well as spells, when the fighter picks up Eldritch Knight at 3rd level, they can bond with 2 weapons of their choice. This allows them to summon the weapon from anywhere as long as they are on the same plane of existence. At 7th level, War Magic grants the Eldritch Knight a bonus action weapon attack if they used an action to cast a cantrip, adding another level of deadly force to the fighter's overwhelming power. Eldritch Strike is yet another reason for enemies to fear the Eldritch Knight's prowess. At 10th level, they gain the ability to undercut a target's magical defense with a weapon attack, giving the enemy disadvantage the next time the Eldritch Knight casts a spell on them. They are literally cutting the weave that may give their enemy a defense against their magic. Arcane Charge at 15th level allows the Eldritch Knight to teleport up to 30 feet. This effectively allows them to double their movement speed at the cost of 1 action. Having someone run at you and then teleport in your face? Well, that can be just a bit scary. At 18th level, improved Improved War Magic allows the Eldritch Knight to make a bonus action melee attack with any normal spell, not just a cantrip. So, when naming this fighter subclass Eldritch Knight, given they seem to be very versatile and even more deadly, they may as well be a humanoid or monstrous, depending on the race, Eldritch Horror themselves. Clearly I'm a bit biased though, as this is one of my two favorite subclasses for the fighter, and I can pull off some pretty scary things with an Eldritch Knight at level 20. At the recording of this video, Psi-Knight is currently in Unearthed Arcana, so let's hope that this guy stays because psionics are pretty awesome. Psi-Knights, or Warriors of the Mind as I like to call them, are psionic fighters of the highest degree. They use their mental power to augment their physical might, with psionic infused weapon strikes, telekinetic lashes, and barriers of mental force. At 3rd level, the Psi-Knight is granted psionic talents, the first of which is Protective Field. This allows the Knight to use a psionic field that will reduce damage from an attack on any creature but themselves. Psi Power Leap gives the Knight the ability to add double the d6 roll in feet to their jump. And Telekinetic Strike. This allows the Knight to deal additional force damage with the psionic talent dice. And to me, these talents alone are pretty awesome. Though the Psi Knight does have its weaknesses. If they roll a 6 on their d6, they have to change the psionic talent die over to a d4. This represents the Knight burning through their psionic energies. But in that same right, if they roll a 1 on the d4, they get their d6 back. As well, the die resets on a long rest. At 5th, 11th, and 17th level, the size of the dice goes up. So watch the level and the die size so you can be an effective psionic knight. At 7th level, the Psi Knight becomes a telekinetic adept, gaining psionic thrust. When using telekinetic strike, if the opponent fails a strength saving throw, the Knight can knock their target back 10 feet and in prone position. And telekinetic movement allows the Knight to move a large or small object up to 30 feet, or a tiny object, say a sword hilt, to or from their hand. The more I go on about this subclass, the more it really does sound like a Jedi Knight. But I'm not complaining, Force users are pretty cool. At 10th level, the Psi Knight gains access to Psi Enhanced Metabolism. This state allows the Knight to be resistant to poison and psychic damage, and completely immune to the poison condition. 15th level gives Bulwark of Force. This gives creatures the Knight can see, including themselves, a force field of half cover for 1 minute. That's a long time in a fight, so this is a very useful feature. At 18th level, the Psi Knight becomes a telekinetic master. This gives the Knight the ability to cast telekinesis without components, as long as they have a psionic talent dice available. This also decreases the die size when used. So while some people see psionics as magic, it really isn't. The Psi Knight shows their power of the mind and physical prowess in the same right. I could see them going toe to toe with an Eldritch Knight, and that's a fight at 20th level I would love to see. The Purple Dragon Knights are warriors who hail from the kingdom of Cormyr, pledged to protect the crown. They take their fight against evil beyond their kingdom's borders. They are tasked with wandering the lands as knight-errants, relying on their judgment, bravery, and the fidelity of the Code of Chivalry to guide them in defeating evildoers. Purple Dragon Knights are tied to a specific order of Cormyrian knighthood, so Banneret serves as a generic name for this archetype, and I will be calling them such from here forward. When the fighter chooses to become a Banneret at 3rd level, they gain Rallying Cry. If 3 creatures allied with the Banneret are within sight and hearing up to 60 feet, if the Banneret uses Second Wind, those allies regain hit points equal to the Banneret's fighter level. Banneret also serve as royal envoy of their crown. Knights of high standing are expected to conduct themselves with grace, basically making them Ugh, I'm never gonna escape this shit. Come on, man, just leave me alone. I'm trying to do something here. At 7th level, they gain proficiency in Persuasion if they don't already have it. This proficiency is doubled whenever making a Persuasion check. At 10th level, the Banneret gets the Inspiring Surge feature. If they use Action Surge, an ally within 60 feet can use the Banneret's reaction to make a weapon attack. So it's basically a team or combo attack, which is kinda sweet. Starting at 15th level, Bulwark allows allies within 60 feet to re-roll failed Intelligence, Wisdom, or Charisma saving throws if the Banneret uses their Indomitable feature. All in all, if you want to play a Knight of a Kingdom who hunts down and punishes evildoers, the Purple Dragon Knight or Banneret is a great subclass to pick. Warriors from the Far East, samurai have a code of honor that surpasses many. Breaking this code meant either death or banishment. In D&D, however, samurai are fighters who have implacable fighting spirit. They are able to overcome enemies with a nearly unbreakable resolve. Enemies only have two options when facing down a samurai: yield or die. Once a fighter chooses samurai at 3rd level, they have access to one of 4 proficiencies to choose from: history, insight, performance, or persuasion, and they can learn 1 additional language. Fighting spirit allows the samurai to grant themselves advantage on weapon strikes, and raise their temporary hit points by 5, which increases at 10th and 15th level. At 7th level, elegant courtier allows the samurai to excel at social situations, giving them bonuses to their charismatic persuasion checks that are equal to their wisdom modifier. Their self-control also allows them to gain proficiencies in wisdom saving throws. Tireless spirit at 10th level grants the samurai the ability to regain 1 fighting spirit usage if they all have been used up. At 15th level, the samurai gains rapid strike. If the samurai has advantage on the turn they make a weapon attack, they can forego the advantage in favor of making a second weapon attack. This may take away the advantage, but if the enemy is almost down, it really could be worth it. At 18th level, the samurai gets strength before death. If the samurai's hit points are reduced to 0 without killing them, their fighting spirit can delay the grasp of death. By using their reaction, they can delay falling unconscious, as well as interrupting the current turn so they may take an extra turn. However, if they are struck in this state, it acts as a normal failed death saving throw. This definitely makes the samurai stand out above most other fighters. Elegance and ferocity wrapped into one package. So that's it for this video of the fighter subclasses. However, this is not all of the fighter subclasses. There are still 2 more that I need to go over, but I want to cover those 2 in a different video by themselves, because they are special. Well, at least they are to me anyways. So, in that video, we will be covering the fighter subclasses created by Matthew Mercer, the DM of the Critical Role gang. Now, this isn't the end of the discussion. In fact, it's just the beginning. So please comment your thoughts on the fighter subclasses below, and let's keep this going. That's all for now. See you in the comments. And remember, breakfast is the most important meal of the day. Donuts are the best breakfast food, so eat up, stay healthy, and I'll catch you in the next episode of D&D Discussions.